What is up, everybody? I am Kevin Iole, and if ever there was a boxer today that was meant to be fighting on South Beach, it is this young man right here, Teofimo Lopez. We will see him on June 29th against Steve Claggett. Teofimo, welcome back. I guess you're going to look to get a guy that wants to fight you this time, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here again, once again with you, Kevin Iole. It's great to interact with you and talk more about boxing. So I look forward to hearing your questions today.
Yeah, well, let's start with this. I looked this up, and this, I don't ask this question to dog Steve Claggett, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Your last eight opponents, when they fought you, had seven combined losses. Steve
hmm
Claggett has seven losses himself in his fight career. So, how do you get motivated when you're used to fighting guys that are ranked number one, that have no losses, one loss, that are world champions? And now you got a guy that's 38-7 and kind of has doesn't have a big name in the sport.
Oh, it's actually right in front of us, right there and then. It's the fact that right there, it's like, do people think that I actually am someone that overlooks these fighters? Absolutely not. And this is why we chose the type of fighter that we are facing now, and that's Steve Claggett. He's number one in Canada. He's top 20 in my weight division. And this guy comes forward and he doesn't stop throwing punches. It's a tough fight. Really, it really is a tough fight. If you don't have the conditioning like this to that degree. This guy's a triathlon athlete on top of that. So
Yeah.
this guy has wind. He has a lot of lungs, and that's the thing. See, what people don't quite really get to is that what is boxing really? Lungs. You gotta have the conditioning.
It,
And say again?
I was going to just, ask you, well, you mentioned he is a triathlete, and I know you're a UFC fan, and Nick and Nate Diaz are triathletes, and kind of their success
Yes.
has been the fact that they can outlast people. Is that, when you watch them, do you ever think, Claggett, hey, this guy is somebody that, I may have to really be at my peak condition to handle?
Absolutely. You said it right there and then. It's not easy. None of that is. I remember speaking with Roy Jones, and remember Roy used to say it, it's not that these guys suck, or it's not that these guys are no good, it's just that I make it look easy. But
Right.
because of what? We have to train so hard. The fight is in the gym. And then when it comes to fight night, that's just the fun. That's just the results of all the hard work we put in. So Steve Claggett, I can't overlook this guy, not at all. This is the biggest time and the biggest moment of his whole life and
Right.
his whole career. He's been professional for what, about 15 years now. This is his first time fighting for not just one championship belt, but for the Lineal belt, which is the most prestigious belt in boxing, and that's the Ring Magazine. So all these things come together, and it makes me realize that he has everything to gain here. I have everything to lose. And in those moments, and I have to understand that, like, I've been there. I've been in those stages where I've been hungry. I've been there where I've been at those stages of not losses, so to speak, but facing a world champion and what it takes to get there. So this guy has earned his shot. Everything that they give him, all the paperwork and signs, he signs it right away, sends it back the same day. So this guy is ready. He's ready to fight and give me his best version of himself. And I look forward to show the world why I still to this day am number one in my division.
I've always been on your side. I think you've been a great fighter. I've always liked your talent. I thought from back in Rio de Janeiro you were going to be a star. Um,
Thank you.
but having said that, that Jamaine Ortiz fight, you won the fight, but I was not impressed with how you fought in that fight. I mean, it seemed like I know he didn't come to fight, so let's put the blame where it belongs. But I didn't see you fight the way I thought you could have fought against a guy like that. Do you give yourself any blame for the way that fight played out? I know you're trying to make the fight, but did you
Yep.
do the things you needed to do to corner him and, be able to open up?
I believe that there's some things that I did not do. One of them being that I only did two sparring sessions in that camp. That whole camp, I only did
Wow.
two sparring sessions. So I believe that a lot of it had to do with that. That's a rookie mistake on my end. You know, um, and
Why
coming
was
back
that? Why was
from
that, KO?
I think that why I guess I was so caught up in trying to promote the fight,
Hmm.
and instead of really focusing on my craft, So now we're at a point where listen, top rank incorporations, top rank is known to do that. So I have to let Top Rank do their job and their part in promoting this fight and not really focus too much on my brand in that essence. You know, it's more so of tapping in on like I'm the fighter in this moment. Focus on fighting. You know, I could be takeover promotions and be a promoter outside when I'm done fighting.
Right.
So these are all good learning experience. Look, I still won. I did what I had to do,
Right.
despite the guy that didn't want to fight. But of course, people are gonna put more onto me because they seen the best version of me. So, you know, these are just moments of learned experience. And that's what I love about it. When I fight fighters like this and tough competitors, people that actually people don't want to fight and face, you know, this is the version that I want to see out of me. And it's the ones that I have some learning to do, you know. So I'm excited for this one as well. You know, despite this guy coming forward and whatnot, you know, this guy cuts the ring off. This guy comes in different ways, and I look forward to putting on a show and just learning from my past previous mistakes, if that has to be, you know. But I did not expect a Jamaine Ortiz to fight that way. I don't think any of us did. I think everyone
Yeah.
expected him to face. I think everyone expected like that Lomachenko phase and stuff like that,
Right.
and he didn't come to bring that show, and that's why I got a bit frustrated. And and the reason why being is because you can't say all this stuff and not come and show it in the night of the fight.
We know you have the the pop in the hands to get guys out of there. You're 20-1 with 13 KOs, but you got one finish in 2 years, or one finish in what, your last 5, 6 fights, I think it is.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it just fighting better guys? Is that what it is? Like when you get up to the higher level that, the guys aren't as easy to knock out, or do you feel like, there's something that you can bring this time that you haven't brought in the past to get that finish?
Yeah, it's just a couple things, you know. This is what happens when you fight with top tier fighters. You know, they know how to get out of there. They know how to stay and survive. You know, this is just the essence of it. It's not that I'm losing my mojo.
Right.
It's in reality, it's just that I'm facing the toughest competition that you could possibly think of. You know, and in those moments, you're not always gonna get these guys out. You know, and that's just some things that are the reality. You know, but these are things that I know, and I'm hard on myself. About those things majority of the time, you know. But I know that I have that. I know that I have the part where they respect my power, and that's why they fall onto a different type of game plan. Now it's all about capitalizing on those game plans as well on their back end, and that's what we plan on doing moving forward.
I know you have always been a guy that sought out the big fights, right? Nobody ever has to accuse Teofimo Lopez of saying no. So you're always in for the big fights. In Saudi Arabia, there's been a ton of big fights getting made. And there was news that came out yesterday, and I'm not sure you heard about it, but Turki Al-Sheikh said, or he didn't say, but they were saying that Turki Al-Sheikh is interested in buying up all the promotions and making one league kind of like the UFC. If that happened, and I think it's unlikely, but let's say that that did happen, do you think it would fundamentally change boxing? Would we see you start to fight the Tank Davises and the Shakur Stevensons and all the other, elite fighters at your weight class?
You know, I believe that if it's under one person, there's a possibility of a greater chance of it happening. If it's like one umbrella and there's still promoters in the mix of it, there's a likely chance of it not necessarily happening to that digression, like to that
Right.
degree. So, you know, it's a great look if that's really true. You know, it makes boxing just that much more of what we need today, and that's it being the best and most toughest sport in the world. So, you know, good for Turkey if that's true. If the rumors are what they are, if they're just rumors, then that's just noise and that's background noise. However, if it's true to that degree, you know, but I doubt that these other promoters will do it. I believe that these other promoters won't necessarily give up what they've worked so hard for, especially men like Todd DeBuff and Bob Arum. You know, I believe that, you know, if it makes sense to them, they still want to be in the mix. You know, that's the thing.
Right.
I don't think they're just gonna give up everything they worked so hard for, especially Bob Arum, who's still the longest reigning promoter of this era of this time. So it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It's money at that point, especially if they're saying I read what you're talking about. They said $5 billion. That's a
Correct.
lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's probably not a lot for Turk and stuff like that, but it's a lot of money for the guys like these promoters that haven't seen that stuff. You just got to wait and see. Todd above has to definitely sit back and think about it, and think what's the best for the company, and alongside with his godfather, stepfather, and that's Bob Arum. Then you got Golden Boy. I think Oscar. He's a fighter. He's a fighter, and he says it. He said, "I'm a fighter before I'm a promoter."
Right.
So maybe he wants to show that he could do it himself. So there's just a lot of things there, and I can't really speak for those men exactly. But it'll be very hard and difficult, I think, to see that happen under one guy, under one umbrella.
So I want to run this by you that, obviously the Saudis have been paying so much money that they're getting fights made that, Fury and Usyk and all these other fights that, otherwise would not have happened. But do you feel other than that the reason some of these fights can't get made is it the promoters and them not willing to be taking risks, or is it the fighters that don't want to ruin their records, right? Like, in other words, why haven't you fought Gervonta Davis, or why haven't you fought Shakur, or guys like that, right? What is and I'm not blaming you for this, I'm just using those as examples, right? But
yeah.
When we haven't seen those kind of fights, they're coming more now, but who does the blame go to mostly?
The boxing business. That's really where it comes to. It's just what they have now, and these. Floyd Mayweather did a lot of great things to the sport, but he also, in a business standpoint, for fighters and for all those out there as managers behind them, he definitely shook up a little bit and broke a little cracks into the sport of boxing. It's no longer just a sport now; it's a business in the sport. And I think that what they need to do, these men that are in suits and ties, they need to take a step back, because I don't think that the fighters are afraid of each other so much of that. I believe that there's just the men behind it, whether it's managers, co-managers, promoters, sometimes even networks could even get involved sometimes, depending on who they want to favoritize. So, it's just it's a lot of breaking down that we need to take away from. I think that if we do that, if you allow the fighter just to be the fighter and face each other, because these guys that we're seeing today, they looked up to the same people that I looked up to. Right. We're talking about the four kings, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, the list goes, Sugar Ray Leonard, and then we got Roy Jones Jr., we have Mike Tyson, the list goes on and on. Right. We all grew up watching them. So I know that deep down, we all still have part of that in us. But however, it's now become that it's a business, and I think that's the sad part about it, because even look at the UFC today, look at PFL, look at Bellator, look at all these guys, even the bare knuckle fighting combat, or so look at them now, everybody's still like, no matter what the cause is, people are fighting each other regardless. And it's all about viewerships. It's really that, and to the networks, that's what they're really wanting. I think that it's just there's some people that we need to cut off and let the fighters just fight.
If I would pick one guy in boxing that I know would fight anybody, anywhere, at any time, I think he might fight Tyson Fury if he gave him a chance. It is Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo,
yes,
wish you good luck on that June 29th. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, Kevin Ioli, and thank you all. You guys don't want to miss this fight. It'll be live on ESPN, and to everyone, tickets are still on sale at the James L. Knight Center in downtown Miami. Let's go, June 29th.
Got a career as a promoter, Teofimo Lopez. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kev.